KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours, now through December 20th. All of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net. And together, we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Kissing Santa Claus. I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night. She didn't see me creep down the stairs to have a peek. She thought that I was tucked up in my bedroom fast asleep. Then I saw Mommy tickle Santa Claus underneath his big so snowy white. Oh, what a life it would have been if Daddy had only seen Mommy kissing Santa Claus last night.
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Delighted to have you with us in this hour. And I've been looking forward to this conversation with Kelly Carter Jackson, which we will commence here in just a moment. There is some breaking news here. We've had enough of this all year long, and here we are again in the waning days of this year. At least 5 have been killed, including a juvenile shooter at a Wisconsin school. At least 5 others were injured in this shooting at the Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, which has about 390 children in kindergarten through 12th grade. So yet another school shooting, and apparently the shooter was a juvenile himself or herself. Just trying to catch up on this as quickly as I can, but at least 5 are dead, including the shooter at this Wisconsin school in Madison. And I'm sure the story will be developing throughout the day. But again, here we are in the last days of this month, the last days of this year, and these school shootings, or just mass shootings, period, continue unabated, sadly, in our society. I digress on that for now. Perhaps more about that tomorrow. But that is the news at this hour in Wisconsin. Kelly Carter Jackson is chair of the Africana Studies Department at Wellesley College. She is a historian and author, and I invited her on this program today to talk about her latest book. It's called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance, and I am delighted to have her back on this program. Professor Carter Jackson, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
It's good to have you. If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well, and delighted to have this hour with you. Let me start with this. I want to situate this book, this text, in this moment. I've been asking of a number of our guests over the last few weeks, given what happened on November the 5th, what resistance looks like in the months and years to come. And I've asked that question of many people, and of course, I've gotten many responses, and I'm just trying to process and marinate on all of these brilliant guests that have been talking to me about how they see resistance in the months and years to come. So again, I want to situate this book, We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance in this particular moment. Can you start with that for me, situating the text in this particular moment, and then we'll jump from there?
Yeah, sure. So when I wrote We Refuse, I wrote it really as a love letter to the Black community. I wanted to respond to sort of the feelings of frustration that I had in the summer of 2020, where it felt like there were protests and there were marches, but we really didn't see like structural change or substantive change. We got some things, we got like signs to change or statues to come down or Aunt Jemima to like change the name of their pancake box. But we didn't get anything beyond like symbols. And so now, fast forward 4 years later, and we're so much more in this period of retrenchment and racial backlash. And so I really wanted to talk about what are the ways that we can respond to white supremacy that move beyond sort of the binary of violence or nonviolence or marches and protests. Because I really don't see the efficacy of marches and protests so much anymore, depending on, the circumstance. And so I wrote this book to give us more tools, and not just to give us more tools, but to show sort of like, hey guys, we've been here before. When we look to the past is really like a blueprint and a map for where we have been and where we are and where we might go. And so each chapter looks at different tools that Black people have made use of: revolution, protection, force, flight, and joy. And these aren't exhaustive tools by any stretch of the imagination, but I write about them because I feel like I've seen them work. I've seen their utility in my own life, but also throughout history. And so I want to give Black people and their allies and comrades hope. In this election series, I thought our refusal would be a vote. I thought it would be our vote. And I've seen that hasn't worked either. And so I think we have a lot of work to do when we get to January in terms of what looks like refusal, but also what looks like effective refusal, like what works. I'm all about using what works and actually tossing aside what doesn't. And I think that's helpful to people. Even to know what doesn't work is useful.
It's going to be a great hour. I can tell you right now where I want to head when we come forward. She said a few things already that I think are worth interrogating. We will certainly excavate with some of those tools. See what I did there? We'll excavate with some of those tools that she mentioned a moment ago. But she said three things already that I want to jump to as soon as I can get to it. In no particular order, this notion of retrenchment. I am curious as to what retrenchment means for her in this particular moment. I think I get it, but I want to ask her to unpack what she means by retrenchment in this particular, and I might add peculiar American moment, this grim moment that we find ourselves in. You heard her say that she no longer believes so much in the efficacy of marches and protests. That's worth interrogating. The efficacy of marches and protests. And then I heard that phrase, effective refusal. I'm all for resistance. I'm all for refusal. I take her point about effective refusal. A lot to talk about. Going to be a great hour with Kelly Carter Jackson, chair of the Africana Studies Department at Wellesley, author of the new book, We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. You're listening to Kelly Carter Jackson right now on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been hearing me guest host here on KBLA Talk 1580, and I'm having a blast. But I'm excited about joining the official lineup here at KBLA Talk 1580 starting Monday, January 6th at 1 p.m. Start your day with First Things First and Dominique DePrima at 6 a.m. Check out Tavis Smiley at 9 a.m. Tune into Truth Time with Dr. Cornell West and Nina Turner at 12 noon, and then tap in with me on The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show at 1 p.m. weekdays. I served 17 years in the U.S. Congress, and I can tell you it's going to be a rough 4 years, so let's navigate this journey together. It's The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, starting Monday, January 6th at 1 p.m. on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Kelly Carter Jackson. Her new book is called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. Kelly's already said a few things that I want to sort of interrogate as we push forward in this hour. This notion of retrenchment, if I were asked this question, I'd have my own response, but this ain't about me. It's about you. When you use the word retrenchment in a moment like this, you mean by that what exactly?
I mean that in this post-2020 moment, I think a lot of people thought that the summer of 2020 was going to bring about a racial reckoning, that things were going to change, that there would be new policy, new laws, that white people would have this sort of pang of conscience and want to do right by Black people. And we didn't see that at all. Matter of fact, 6 months after that summer, you saw the first sort of like massive anti-CRT campaign. You saw a massive DEI campaign. You saw January 6th with the election of Joe Biden. And you saw an emboldened, I think, group of people that were adamant about pushing back on racial justice and social justice. You saw it at school board meetings where people now needed security at school board meetings and fights were breaking out. And there became real language about what you could say or what you couldn't say, or sort of buzzwords and fighting words. And it became even more difficult, I think, to have the kind of conversations that people were anticipating would finally happen in the summer of 2020. And so in a lot of ways, I see the reelection of Donald Trump as part of this racial retrenchment, where people are starting to see him in a different light. They have forgotten sort of all of the racist rhetoric that happened in his previous presidency. They have brushed under the rug or to the side things that he said in his current campaign. And even now, we're gearing up for this presidency again. And I mean, to be honest, I'm a little terrified about what it's going to bring, especially for people of color and poor people of color.
Terrified is a strong word. I'm not suggesting I disagree with it, but when you use the word, you are a writer, so you choose, and a professor, so you choose your words very carefully. Is it really terrifying for you?
It is, because I believe in what Maya Angelou said, that when people tell you who they are, you should believe them. And I don't think Trump is a liar, but there's a lot of things he's telling the truth about what he intends to do. He's always been very honest about that. And so when he says his number one order of business is deportations, you know, that's going to impact a lot of people. When he wants to undermine anything that has to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion, you know, that's, as an educator, that's my bread and butter. That's my life's work. I see myself as doing the Lord's work when I'm in the classroom, when I'm giving people history and facts and trying to equip them to be critical thinkers. When we think about women's rights and what it means to be able to attain a safe abortion, or even any kind of reproductive health care, those things are terrifying to me. And, the list could go on, but those are just a few of the things that I worry about. Politically, I worry that there is not a single sort of majority for the Democrats, not in the Supreme Court, not in the House, not in the Senate, not in the White House. And so when you don't have those sort of stopgap measures, what does that look like for people that don't have political power or influence? It's a pretty scary thing to think about.
Yeah. One of the ways that we could, in fact, push back or resist this retrenchment is marches and protests. And yet, I heard you say earlier, you know where I'm going with this, that you no longer believe so much in the efficacy, is the word I believe you use, the efficacy of marches and protests. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think that marches and protests have a place. And I think when we think about them, certainly in terms of the long freedom struggle and the civil rights movement, protests and marches were all that a lot of people had. And it was tremendously effective in bringing about not just symbolic change, but real structural change. I mean, you get civil rights acts that are put in place. You get laws that are changed. You get policy that gets overturned. You had real effective change in the 60s especially. But now when I think about marches and protests, I think people see them as something that is a nuisance more than anything else. I think it's difficult to get attention in the media, to get sustained attention. I think it's difficult to get policy changes as a result of that. Not all the time, but I'm struggling, and maybe you can help me out, but I am struggling to pinpoint to effective sort of a substantial change that has happened as a result of a protest at a macro level. At a micro level, it's a little bit easier to do. If you're on a college campus, I've seen students get their commencement speaker changed because of protest. I've seen things happen at a smaller level. But at a larger level, when we're talking about systems and structures, I don't always know that is the most effective route. It's certainly a tool that can be used. I don't take it off the table. Sure. But I think about other things to me like boycotts. I think about strikes. I think about like a withdrawing of our labor. I think about even how cancel culture has played a particular role. I think about how we invest our dollars. That matters a lot to me. When you tug on people's pocketbooks, you tend to have more of the kind of change that people think is effective than any other thing. And so, I think that those things work. And, I talk about flight. Like when we just leave, when we say, you know what, I'm out. Yeah. When we leave, and I'm not talking about the country per se, when we leave or abandon institutions, when we say, okay, you want to be done with affirmative action? How do we support our HBCUs? And how do we get as many kids in HBCUs and get HBCUs the funding they need to support the wealth of people that are going to be attending these institutions? How do we do that?
That list you just ran of boycotts and strikes, et cetera, are those the kinds of tools that are in your toolbox of effective refusal, the term you used earlier?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the cool thing is that you can point all throughout history to moments where boycotts and strikes do work. I think about it when I go back to the late 1900s and the Black women's washerwoman strike in Atlanta, Georgia, where they basically said, until you pay us a fair wage, we are not going to wash your clothes. And it worked, and they got higher wages for Black women who were washing clothes. When we think about the Montgomery bus boycott, when people are like, we will not ride your buses, and they went for over a year without riding buses. I mean, that's a long time to go without doing something. You have a whole new, after a year, you've built up not just a whole habit, but a new lifestyle in terms of how you navigate your own transportation. But that brought the bus company to its knees. And I think Black people have a lot of economic power in which they can withdraw their labor or withdraw their dollars and see a real impact.
Yeah, you mentioned the Montgomery bus boycott, so let me just go there. We're talking, in case you've just tuned in, with Kelly Carter Jackson out of Wellesley College about her new book. It's called "We Refuse: A Forceful History of Black Resistance." And as you know, as a regular listener of this program, I've been asking a lot of people of late, what does resistance look like over the next 4 years? And so her book is timely, and I'm delighted to have Kelly Carter Jackson on to unpack the text. You mentioned the Montgomery bus boycott, and I always think of that. This is just my read. I'm curious to get your take on this. To my mind, that is the how about I put this? The Montgomery bus boycott, to my mind, is the quintessential example. The quintessential example of what Black resistance looks like for me. And it is the quintessential example for a few reasons. Number one, you put your finger on it already, because it lasted for a whole year. These Negroes in Montgomery did whatever they had to do for an entire year to break the back of that bus company.
Yeah.
Here's my dilemma. I cannot imagine, and you know where I'm going, I cannot imagine in 2024 that we could ever have that kind of, and I don't even like the word unity, so let me go with solidarity. And if I had time, I could unpack. You, a professor, you probably get it already. I could unpack the difference in my mind between unity and solidarity. So even when we say there was Black unity, there never was. You know, everybody wasn't with Dr. King, any more than everybody was with Malcolm. So there was never
their own ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So there's never, people use that word, but I've never seen a period. And again, I'm not a professor, but I am a historian. I have never ever studied a period of Black history where I ever thought or felt that there was real unity. Now, there have been moments where we've engaged in solidarity. And I would look at the Montgomery bus boycott as a moment of solidarity, and successful solidarity, to say the least. But I can't imagine in 2024, if we're talking about we refuse, if we're talking about continuing this historical legacy of forceful Black resistance, I can't imagine that we could ever achieve again what they achieved in Montgomery. If you want to disabuse me of that notion, please begin now.
Okay, so I'm an optimist.
Okay.
That does not mean that I am naive.
Okay.
It means that I am always bent towards hope. And so because of that, I think solidarity is absolutely possible. I think it is absolutely possible to have a successful campaign. Now, what it requires is coalition building, and that takes work. You can't just send out a tweet and be like, okay, everybody, we boycotting Amazon, and, everybody sort of jump on. I think it takes a lot of creativity, a lot of strategy, a lot of careful targeting. It can't just be sort of a blanket, like, all right, we're leaving Twitter. You also have to create alternatives when you do that boycott. So one of the reasons why Montgomery was so successful is because they didn't just say, get off the bus. They said, we have carpools now. Where are you going? Where are you headed? We are creating our own sort of routes. And so if you need to get to work on this side of town, there's 3 or 4 people that are going that way. They leave at 7 a.m. There's another car leaving at 8 a.m., to get you where you want to go. There are efforts where, hey, we're going to walk to work, and you don't want to walk alone? Well, we got walking buddies, and you can walk down the street to get to your job or whatever. We'll have chaperones that'll make sure you get to where you need to go, or to make sure that you can get picked up. So there wasn't just a don't ride the bus campaign. It was careful orchestration. It was women who were sending out handbills. Over 50,000 handbills are printed up all over the city. Again, free Twitter, free social media, telling people these are our goals. This is what we want. And it's not just the ability to ride the bus. We want to be treated fairly when we ride this bus. We want to pay a certain fare that can accommodate, our economic needs. I mean, it was a whole movement that I think people constantly underestimate because we dwindle the Montgomery bus boycott down to Rosa Parks and her refusal. And that refusal is not nothing, but in some ways, when you make it just about her, it simplifies the fact that this was a collective, orchestrated, long-standing movement that required a lot of moving parts, if you will. So I think that that's possible. I mean, we have so much more today than the abolitionists had, the period that I studied in the 19th century, than the civil rights leaders had.
Mm-hmm.
We have so much more wealth. We have so much more access available to us. I think it's a matter of, coalition building and getting people the information they need and then providing them with alternatives.
This might be an unfair question. If it is, you can tell me that. I said a moment ago that, to my mind, the bus boycott in Montgomery is the quintessential example of black solidarity when it comes to resistance, when it comes to refusal. If there's another to your mind that you think is quintessential, or if the question is unfair, tell me that as well.
I mean, throughout the book, I give a lot of examples.
Sure.
And I think that's what's really exciting about the book, is because it's not just sort of one thing. I open the book with the Haitian Revolution. What's more revolutionary and black than the Haitian Revolution?
Yep.
And I talk about how revolutions are not just about violence and bloodshed, although there is some of that. Revolutions are about replacing broken systems with just ones. And about creating, a fairer, better society, about eradicating something like slavery, something that, if you ask people, 200-300 years ago, will slavery be here forever or will it be abolished? No one, save the abolitionists, would have believed that something like slavery could have been abolished or overthrown. No one would have thought that enslaved people could have overthrown a European power like France. And they do. And we have historical precedents for how black people have done this work. So I could point to the Haitian Revolution. I could point to the Black abolitionist movement and people like Frederick Douglass and people like Sojourner Truth and Lewis Hayden and William and Eliza Parker and Jermaine Logan and all of these black abolitionists that, at the risk of their own lives, helped create an underground railroad, helped create safe houses, helped create a whole new brand of literature, like the slave memoir, the slave narrative, like their own black newspapers to tell their stories. I mean, the abolitionist movement, for me, is such a blueprint for how we think about eradicating violent systems, violent oppressive systems. And then, throughout the book, I talk about protection and I talk about even force and the ability to use our Second Amendment rights, which is not popular, but again, was effective during the Civil Rights Movement. And I also talk about things that people might see as superficial, but I see as incredibly powerful, and that's joy. Like, how do we use joy as a weapon?
Oh, no, hold that.
How do we...
Hold that thought. I'm looking at my clock here.
Okay.
No, I'm going there. I must tell you, going through your book, of course, of all the tools in the book, the one that jumped out at me most, which won't surprise you, I suspect, is joy. Joy as a tool of black resistance is a fascinating concept and notion for me. I'm going to give you all the time you need to unpack that and more when we come forward on Tavis, Smiley, talking with Kelly Carter Jackson about her new book, We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know from BIN News. A Manhattan grand jury may indict Luigi Mangione for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson this week, prompting his extradition from Pennsylvania. Mangione's attorney plans to challenge this, while online fundraisers for him have raised over $120,000 so far. President-elect Trump's Department of Health and Human Services nominee, Robert Kennedy Jr., is heading to Capitol Hill to gain support from senators. He has over 24 meetings scheduled this week. Texas is suing a New York doctor for mailing an abortion pill to a woman in Dallas, leading to serious complications. This sets up a conflict between Texas's near-total abortion ban and New York's shield laws. And today is National Chocolate-Covered Anything Day. On December 16th, chocolate lovers are encouraged to dip and drizzle their favorite foods in chocolate. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hello? You gotta get your story straight. What an idiot. Get it through your noodle. Don't give a rat's behind. That's baloney.
A new era begins.
And I'm just getting started.
Judy Justice.
Check your local listing to watch Judy Justice. Out now.
Is this the title? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
LeBron rejoined the Lakers Sunday night after an 8-day rest. He missed the last 2 games with a sore left foot, something he said will be an everyday thing for him the rest of the season. LeBron almost had a triple-double in the Lakers' 116-110 win over Memphis. He had 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Anthony Davis was the star of the show with 40 points and 16 rebounds. The Clippers are at home tonight against Utah. A very poor performance by the Chargers in their home game Sunday against Tampa Bay. The Chargers got blown out 40-17. They were shut out in the second half. The Chargers defense gave up 511 yards in total offense and 4 touchdown passes to Tampa Bay quarterback Baker Mayfield. The Chargers are now 8-6. They need to regroup in a hurry. They play Denver Thursday night at SoFi. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Eggs are a staple in our diets, and there's only one egg with more delicious farm fresh taste plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. With more vitamins, including 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, plus 25% less saturated fat than ordinary eggs. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, and organic. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Have you heard of the 50-30-20 rule? This can help you spend and save your money wisely. So, how does it work? Distribute your dollars into 3 buckets. 50% towards needs, 30% towards your wants, and 20% goes to savings. Use this tool to help your journey to financial success. Sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
The revolution will not be televised.
This is Brother Cornell West. My dear brothers and sisters, I'm full of joy and delight to announce that I'm joining the precious family at KBLA Talk 1580, founded and led by my dear brother Tavis Smiley himself. Yes, the name of the show is Truth Time, and I'll be working with the inimitable Nina Turner out of Cleveland, Ohio, sister of great vision, and we will be on weekdays at 12 noon. We will be following Brother Tavis Smiley's show. We will begin Monday, January the 6th. That's right, Monday, January the 6th. Get ready for a different kind of insurrection. We coming with Martin Luther King Jr. and Fannie Lou Hamer and Curtis Mayfield and Aretha Franklin, and gonna add a little Gil Scott-Heron too, as Nina Simone sits at the center. That's right.
The revolution will be live.
That's what we gonna do. Please come with us on this fantastic voyage.
The revolution will put you in the driver's seat.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with Kelly Carter Jackson, who's chair of the Africana Studies Department at Wellesley. Historian, author. Her new book is called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. Before I get to that question about Joy that I wanted to ask, I wonder, given a number of things you've already said in this conversation that I don't need to underscore, but I wonder if you might just take a moment to talk specifically and uniquely about the role of black women in this forceful history of black resistance.
Sure. So the book really centers around Black women, and part of the reason I do that is because I am a Black woman, but also because I really see Black women on the forefront and on the front lines of a lot of the work that I do, whether it's looking at the institution of slavery and the abolitionist movement, whether it's the civil rights movement, whether it's the Black Lives Matter movement. Black women have always been the leaders, founders, followers, implementers of their movement. And so I also believe, and this is part of the Combahee River Collective, that when we work on behalf of Black women, we work on behalf of everyone. We work to free everyone's chains, to liberate all people, because Black women perpetually represent sort of like the bottom underclass of society. And so, and we don't give a lot of attention, I think, to the work that Black women are doing. So it's part of my motivation and agenda to take Black women from the margins and to put them at the center and to introduce people that I think a lot of my readers might not be familiar with. We know sort of the Rosa Parks and maybe even, Harriet Tubman and Daisy Bates, but I wanted to introduce new people like Carrie Johnson or people like Mabel Williams or, people that are in my own family, my own ancestors, and give them sort of light and shine in terms of their contributions, in terms of how they've modeled refusal. And so for me, it was just really important to do that, and not at the expense of Black brothers, because I think that's really important as well, but to show like how do we understand resistance throughout time, and what does it look like when Black women are sort of at the forefront of it, when we give them a bigger spotlight? What does that tell us about society and what's possible? So that's what I really wanted to do with this work.
Yep. You said earlier, in answer to one of my questions, that you are an eternal optimist, and I always make a distinction, as this audience knows, between optimism and hope. I am not an optimist, but I am an eternal prisoner of hope. I cop to that. Yeah. I'm an eternal prisoner of hope, while I am not an optimist, because I don't always see the evidence to suggest to me that I have reason to believe that things are necessarily going to get better. We could debate that for hours. We won't. My point simply is that I often wonder whether or not we still have resistance in us. There was a time when I thought that resistance was in our DNA, and I'm not so sure. Just as you are questioning the efficacy of marches and protests, I'm questioning whether or not resistance is still in our DNA as it was in our ancestors. Your book starts out with an introduction called "My Ancestors' Refusal," and clearly, to my mind, we are not them. We are not they. And I say all that to ask whether or not you think we've just gotten to a point in our history in this place called America where we have more fatigue than we have the spirit and the fire of resistance, of refusal.
No, see, I push back on that.
Come on, give it to me. Come on.
And I think that's because we are our ancestors' descendants. What they had to endure, how they survived, what they refused, what they fought against. That's in us. That's in our very DNA. Like, I don't think that you can sort of wipe that out. Now, I do think that there are real impediments to being able to continue resistance. I think capitalism is a corrupter.
Sure.
I think fame is a corrupter, and celebrity. I think that there are real things that impede Black people from sort of getting to the promised land. But I hear that story, and I tell that story about my great-grandmother Arnesta and my great-great-great-grandmother who, refused. And I'm like, wow, I belong to her. I am her descendant. And if she could do this, how much more can I do? Like, I feel like I have an even greater responsibility and obligation.
But that sounds, not to cut you off, that sounds, I hear the point you're making, but that sounds more aspirational than actual. You're right about the fact that we are their offspring. But when we say that if they did it, we could do it, that's aspirational. Where's the actuality of that?
I mean, my goodness, the actuality is me right now, my very existence. Like, if my grandparents, great-grandparents could see where I am right now and what I'm doing, their minds would be blown, completely blown. And now some people may point to my life and say, hey, you're the exception, you're not the rule. Okay, fair enough, but I'm still here. I still exist as a professor, as the chair of Africana Studies. People could not have even imagined that Africana Studies would be its own department.
That's right.
Like, we were happy to get classes. We were happy to have books that taught our history. Now there are whole departments dedicated to our
at Wellesley, at Wellesley, no less.
At Wellesley, I'm at a PWI. I'm not at Spelman.
Yeah.
I'm not at Howard.
Yeah.
So for me, that is huge. I look at the things that I've been able to give my children, and my children are living, I'll be honest, relatively privileged lives compared to a lot of their counterparts. But it is still something that exists. They can't be denied the fact that they exist and that they are navigating in this world in this way. And so my grandmother had an 8th grade education. She could not go to high school. My mother has a PhD. I have a PhD. My nephew's about to graduate from Stanford with a PhD. She could not have imagined 3 generations of PhDs. She could not. And that to me says, okay, we've got real work to do. My classroom is the space where I go to work. The books that I write, like, my ancestors could not read. So to be able to write books and to write books that are widely read, like, that's huge. That's huge for me. So, but now, are we where we want to be? No. But, but do I think that there is a path? Yeah. I say this all the time. It's a film that I love called Burn, and it's an old film that came out in like 1969 with Marlon Brando. But in it, there's a line by the main character, and he says, "It is better to know where to go and not know how than how to go and not know where." And I think that's what a lot of Black people are dealing with. We know where we want to be. We know what the end goal is: liberation, toward freedom. That's where we're going. Now, we don't know how to get there. Like, we don't know necessarily the roadmap, but we know what the destination is. And I'm okay with figuring it out and failing and trying again to get there. I think the problem with whiteness and white supremacy is that they don't have a destination. Their only path is destruction and doom and devastation and death. And I don't want that. I'm trying to get off that path.
No, I hear your point. It's a powerful point. I confess, though, I wrestle with this all the time, whether or not the success of a relative handful of us as compared to the masses, whether or not success is the arbiter of whether or not we are engaged in resistance. I'm not so sure I buy that. I think.
No, I don't think I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. Like, we cannot gauge the Oprah Winfrey's of the world and say, well, look, we made it. You know what I mean? Like that. No, when we have to look at where the bottom is, and we have to say, okay, are we okay with that?
Yeah, we can debate this going forward. As a matter of fact, let's debate it when we come forward just for a second here. See, I think, again, that if success is the arbiter of whether or not we are truly engaged in resistance, then we got a problem. One, I think that's the wrong standard. But secondly, most of those Negroes who become successful are not bearing witness. They're not bearing witness. They're not speaking truth to power and to the powerless. That's what, to me, resistance looks like, bearing that kind of witness in public. And most of us who have become successful are not doing that, particularly in corporate America, because if you do that, you lose your job. So who's bearing witness? I digress for now. More when we come forward with Kelly Carter Jackson on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited!
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Quarterly Corte back-to-back?
Oh my God!
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DePrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up.
That's what I want.
On behalf of the Ayers family, KBLA Talk 1580 announces the public funeral services for our very own Robin Ayers on Saturday, December 21st, 12 noon, in the living room at the Faithful Central Bible Church, 400 West Florence Avenue in Inglewood. Robin will be sorely missed by all who knew her and the many lives she touched. We will hold on to our fondest memories forever. Family and friends are invited to come celebrate Robin's joyful life Saturday, December 21st at 12 noon in the living room at Faithful Central Bible Church, 400 West Florence Avenue in Inglewood. KBLA Talk 1580 extends sincere condolences to the Ayers family. Robin will always be in our hearts.
To say.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Kelly Carter Jackson. Did that point I just made make any sense? That that about my concern, as expressed about success being the arbiter of whether or not we are truly engaged in resistance, because so many of us who are successful, present company not included, Professor Carter Jackson, are not engaged in the kind of bearing witness that I think is at the epicenter of resistance.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, first of all, I write about this in the book too, like Black excellence will not save us. And, there's a story I tell about Daisy Bates, about how she gets this fame, she gets celebrity status, and, she takes a bribe to sort of save her newspaper, really at the expense of, the movement's efforts. And she pays for it dearly. She goes home and her house is firebombed, and she winds up losing her paper within a year. We can't take the bribe. We can't depend on, Du Bois's talented tends to save us. I don't think that's the solution.
Right.
But I do think that there are people that are doing this work. There are people that are resisting and refusing, and they may not have sort of the prominence or the name recognition of the Twitter followers that sort of we expect to see, but they are doing that work. And you know, when I think about the abolitionists, I tell people a lot of times that, like, the abolitionists were 1% of the population, 1%. Mm-hmm. And so that tells me you don't need a groundswell. You don't need massive consensus in order to do this work. Matter of fact, if you're waiting on consensus, you'll never get that.
That's right.
So these small group of people were able to accomplish so much. I mean, I credit the abolitionists with helping to overturn not just the system of slavery, but to set up Reconstruction. The radical abolitionists that were like, all right, let's do it. 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, let's go. You know, like they did that work, and there was not a lot of them to be counted. They were definitely a minority, but they were working for the majority, and we need that kind of courage. It doesn't have to be everybody, but we need a small group of people building these coalitions.
No, we agree on that. As she referenced earlier in this conversation, there are a number of tools in her toolbox, in our toolbox, if I can put it that way, for being forceful resistors in a moment like this. She mentioned them earlier: revolution, protection, force, flight, and joy. We will conclude our conversation with Kelly Carter Jackson when we come forward talking about joy as a tool of resistance. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project. Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail, and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail. Because freedom should be free. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I've got 4 minutes left, and I want to give all of it to Kelly Carter Jackson. I've enjoyed this conversation immensely. Love, as I say all the time, re-examining my own assumptions. Love expanding my inventory of ideas. Love talking to folk who are a whole lot smarter than I am. Her book is called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. All right, Professor Carter Jackson, the last 4 minutes belong to you to talk about joy as a tool of resistance.
Joy is a tool of resistance. Joy is a weapon. Joy is what fortifies us. Joy is what sort of affirms our own humanity, the ability to laugh, to mock, to poke fun, to be silly, to share a good meal, to have community, to find ways to sort of pour into one another. I talk about in the book how happiness and joy are not the same thing, that joy actually runs in tandem with suffering and depression, that it actually helps us to make sense of the things that are most grievous to us, and that when we are at our lowest points, it's joy that helps us get out of it. One of the examples I use that I think is pretty funny but so on point is the example of the Montgomery Brawl. You know, like when this black dock worker was attacked and by these white voters, and just the level of protection, how people swam, a 16-year-old teenager swam to his defense, body slammed somebody, people throwing folding chairs, but what came after that, the gifts, the memes, the reenactments, the way that people were mocking and poking fun at whiteness was pure joy. And Twitter exploded. And for me, I was like, this is blackness. This is what we do. We take something that really is a violent altercation and we show you the ridiculousness of white people. We say, no, white people, you have no authority. You have no supremacy. You have no decency. And we will show you what happens when you act in this way. And it just, that whole moment was such a mood for the rest of the year, a vibe. I'm like, how Black people engage with one another, but also just how Black people find joy in the biggest things and the smallest things. And so I am trying to equip myself with joy coming into 2025. I'm leaning hard on my sisters and my brothers and my village for that joy. And I hope we all do that and see it as something that's not superficial, but really see it as a strength of who we are as a people, that we can use joy as a weapon.
No, I think you're right about the fact that joy and suffering go hand in hand, and we can have a whole lot of that over the next 4 years. Hopefully the joy and the suffering balance each other out, as opposed to being...
joy comes in the morning, as the scripture says.
That's
joy comes in the morning. Weeping may endure for a night,
but joy cometh in the morning. No, that's a great place to close this program. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. The book is called We Refuse, A Forceful History of Black Resistance. The author of that book is the chair of the Africana Studies Department at Wellesley College. She is historian and author Kelly Carter Jackson. Professor Carter Jackson, an honor to have you on the program. Thank you for the conversation. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A Manhattan grand jury may indict Luigi Mangione for the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson this week, prompting his extradition from Pennsylvania. Mangione's attorney plans to challenge this, while online fundraisers for him have raised over $120,000 so far. President-elect Trump's Department of Health and Human Services nominee, Robert Kennedy Jr., is heading to Capitol Hill to gain support from senators. He has over 24 meetings scheduled this week. Texas is suing a New York doctor for mailing an abortion pill to a woman in Dallas, leading to serious complications. This sets up a conflict between Texas's near-total abortion ban and New York's Shield laws. And today is National Chocolate-Covered Anything Day. On December 16th, chocolate lovers are encouraged to dip and drizzle their favorite foods in chocolate. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hello? You gotta get your story straight. What an idiot. Get it through your noodle. Don't give a rat's behind. That's baloney.
A new era begins.
And I'm just getting started.
Judy Justice.
Check your local listing to watch Judy Justice. Out now.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
For the 4th straight week, the UCLA women's basketball team is ranked number 1 in the country. The 10-0 Bruins have been number 1 since beating defending national champion South Carolina on November 24th. The Bruins have a home game tonight against Cal Poly. Joining UCLA in the top 5 this week is South Carolina, Notre Dame, UConn, and LSU. USC is 7th. Next game for the 10-1 Trojans is Saturday at UConn. Congratulations to Notre Dame football coach Marcus Freeman. Notre Dame gave Freeman a 4-year contract extension that will keep him at the school for the next 6 years. Notre Dame is 11-1 this season. Notre Dame plays Tavis Smiley's Indiana Hoosiers Friday in the first round of the college football playoffs. Freeman is one of only 2 black head coaches in the 12-team playoffs. He joins Penn State's James Franklin. Penn State has a first-round game Saturday against Southern Methodist. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome forward now. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I am your host, Lynn Richardson, here on KBLA Talk 1580, and we are creating millionaires, one family at a time, one day at a time, $1 at a time, and $1 at a time, and that